All right, welcome everybody, and thank you for attending today. Today's topic is about garden center software. So this is Windward System 5, it's garden center software, and we're just going to start rolling right into the content here. All right, Windward Software makes business management software for the horticulture industry. Been at it since 1984, and we're located in Penticton, British Columbia, and we primarily service North America, but we have an international reach. We have hundreds of clients running Windward System 5 to help them run their business. We are trusted by 40 and backed by 40 years of experience. Again, we make business management software for shops just like yours. And Windward System 5 on cloud is the business management software for your garden center, nursery, or landscape supply shop. Think of it as the hub of everything that's important to the business, since all of the parts of your software are connected. The main features are point of sale, inventory control, service management, and integrated accounting. Today, your presenter is going to be Peter Tompkinson. He's a business developer with Windward Software, and he's been around for the last 6 years. And he previously was one of our business analysts, and he's done a number of jobs within Windward Software. So, Peter, why don't you go ahead and take it away for us?
Thanks, Kyle. All right. So, Kyle, you can see my screen okay?
Yep, you're coming through.
Beauty. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And as Kyle mentioned, yeah, we've been around for 40 years and we love working with garden centers. And I'm going to really focus in on some of the key features that I found that garden centers like to use with our software. So diving right in, I'll just point out that I do have a lot maybe on my menu right now. This is customizable. It is customizable by user. So depending on the user securities you set up, you can see different menu items here. Now, we do have our menu navigator on the screen, but I also can get rid of that. I can use a drop-down menu, or one of the best ways to really navigate through Windward is use these quick buttons at the top. Again, you can customize them per user so that each person can really focus in and streamline their activities well within Windward. So with garden centers, a big part of the focus I find is around the point of sale and inventory management. So I'm going to talk a lot about that today, and we're going to start off with our quick sales screen. One of the challenges that I find with our customers is they often have big lineups. They need to move quickly through their sales and get that high volume sale turnover quickly. So the quick sales screen, and I'll click on my quick sale button on the top of my banner, is designed to do just that. It's compatible with a touch screen, but I'm using my mouse today. So there's a number of different ways that we can get items onto an invoice. Of course, if you have a barcode scanner, you can go ahead and scan those items. I'm just going to type it in or paste in a barcode to simulate that. And when I type that in, you can see it brings up the item. Now I can bring up that same item a number of different ways. If I know the part number, I can search by a partial part number, and it will return any parts that reflect that partial part number. I can also do the same thing with a description. So typing in a partial description is going to return any of the items that belong to that item. Now, of course, if you need to do a more in-depth search, you can pull up our Find Item window, and you can search by all sorts of different ways, by supplier, by brand, by description. You can even search by things, special plant attributes, such as maybe, type it right, a botanical name. So I'll dive into an inventory record here in a couple minutes and show you a little bit more how we could set that up. But as you can see, we can even set it up so that we can display the botanical name in our part find window. Another feature I'll just point out at this point is that you might have multi-locations with your garden center, or different areas where you're storing your plants, where you can actually have a visibility into your inventory quantities in those different locations. So I have 6 quantity available at my current location, But across all my departments, I can see that we actually have 16. So that makes it easy, so you can make sure you satisfy your customers with all the inventory that you have in stock. All right, so we showed a few ways of how we can get items onto an invoice by either scanning or manually typing or searching for the items. But one of the powers of this quick screen menu or quick screen sale is actually the buttons. So you'll notice there's a number of buttons along the top, the bottom, as well as the side. Now these are customizable. You can change the look, the feel of these, the color, and even the functionality or the behavior of them. So let's go through a few of the buttons here and we can talk about what they can do. So for instance, if I click on our shrubs button, it's going to pull up a category of my shrubs. Again, I can select individual, I can double click or hit OK to select individual items, or I can use my multi-select button on the far left and choose multiple items at one time. In this case, one of the items, this 5-gallon Skyrocket Juniper, it has a sales comment on it. Now these sales comments are used to communicate something to our clerk. In this case, we're recommending a certain fertilizer goes with this product. Another one of our items has a discount applied to it. So if we buy 6 or more, we get 10% off, or if we buy 12 or more, we get 20% off. These discounts can be set up as part of the inventory record or through our promotions module. If we click on our bedding plants button, you can also see that we can link it directly to a group of items. So it's opening up a secondary menu that are directly linked to these items. So if I choose these items, they put them directly onto the invoice. Now, if you have an item that you sell quite frequently, maybe you want to make that button available on the main screen. So for instance, I can sell these horticulture rose dusts with a click of a button. If I click it more than once, of course, it's going to increase the quantity available. Now, I mentioned that one of the needs of our customers is to move through these high volume lineups quickly. And so we can easily take payment at this point. And now if you're connected to, we can integrate with payment processors, or if you want to have a standalone processor, you can do that as well. In this case, I'm just going to select my payment and pay in full by debit. And it's just that simple to complete the payment. Now, I chose to bring up our print screen here to select which invoice to print off. You can automate this process. If you're doing quick sales, you might want to automate it so it automatically prints to a small slip printer. But you can also choose to print to a full-sized printer as well. Again, you can automate this and even choose what kind of invoices to print based on what kind of invoice you're using. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at one of our invoices. So in this case, we have a full-sized invoice. We chose to provide some comments from the inventory items. And you can see the sale information at the bottom, any taxes applied, and total payment. Now, once we close that invoice, you'll notice that we come right back into that quick sales screen. Again, this is to ease the burden on the sales clerk, so they can just get right into the next sale. Let's take a look at a couple more buttons. So if we click on our fertilizer bags button, you can notice here that we don't just need to have buttons with words, we can actually have images associated with the product too. So we can add, I'm going to choose a different one for that. We'll talk about product when we're out of stock in a moment. But we can choose these buttons too, just click on them and you can see it just adds the invoice. A couple other items that I'll show you here is our pond kit. So another useful feature for garden centers and nurseries is to actually bundle or kit items together. So in this case, we have a starter pond kit available. And we click that starter pond kit, you can see that it adds the starter pond kit as a main item. And then it indicates the children items, or the products that are actually bundled into that kit. Now you might notice that you're getting a pond liner, 3/4 hose, and a pump. But the pricing is actually associated to the top line item. So you can configure your bundles or your kits in various ways. And this one is allowing you to set the price with the kit. So you can actually give a better price if they buy the bundle, opposed to buying the individual parts. Another interesting feature that we have at Windward is when you're selling bulk product, you can actually sell by different units of measure. So what I mean by that, if we choose to sell some bulk bark mulch, we'll get our units of measure screen appear. Now, in this case, I have it set up to sell by ton, by cubic yard, or by square foot. So if our customer chooses to buy 2 cubic yards of the product, I can enter that value in against our cubic yards, and you can see it calculates the other volumes for you. Of course, if you need to provide any services, any labor or installation services, you can also add those here. You can even track your technician time and your labor hours and run reports on that. Lastly, the last button I want to show here is our promo items. So promo items, well, of course, as it sounds, this is a way for you easily to group together items that you're running promotions or sales on. But the reason why I want to show this one is, well, we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see the image, and we're going to see words as well associated to the buttons. But really, when I click on this, we're going to show you the power of our modifiers. So again, this has the inventory record has a sales comment on it, and this is communicating to our sales clerk from our management team that they've created a modifier against this product so you can design your own terrarium. It comes with a $20 assembly fee. And when we hit OK and clear the sales comment, we can see the modifiers kick in. So the first thing it's asking us is choose one of the following. Which type of terrarium do we want to select? So let's choose our glass terrarium with light bulb. And then the next option is asking us to select one or more. What kind of materials do we want to put into the terrarium? Let's go ahead and use some of this potting soil. The next options is for plants. Again, we can choose multiple plants in this case. And lastly, do we want to add any accessories to our terrarium? Sure, let's put some agate slices in there. And then finally, it's going to summarize our choices and ask us to confirm our purchase. When we hit OK, it's going to add everything to our invoice. All right, so showing you a couple different ways to add products onto the invoice in our quick sales screen. And also alluded to what were we going to do in an event that, well, first let's just take our payment here and we can complete this sale. We can pay in cash. We'll finish this up. And I'm going to bypass our invoice for a moment. Now, sometimes we might have a larger project or where a customer's come in and they want to purchase some items. Maybe they want to pick them up at a later date or have them delivered. Perhaps you don't have all the items in stock and you need to order these items. So let's go through a process like that. Now, it could also be the case where you might have a membership program or some sort of club level, or you just want to keep track of your customers. So I want to point out that we can add a customer to our quick sale as well. So in this case, we're going to search our customer by name. You can also search by phone number or a partial phone number. You can also search by email, all sorts of different options here. I have my live search on, so as soon as I start typing, it's going to return all of my customers that match the criteria. In this case, Pamela Brown is the customer I'm looking for. Excuse me, I have a couple screens here. Let's just pull that back up. There we are. All right, so we have Pamela Brown added to our invoice. Now, Pamela Brown, she actually has a price schedule, so she's going to receive some preferred pricing. She's part of our club membership. So let's add a juniper item to her invoice. And we can see, there we go, we'll add it on. And I'll just show you by right-clicking here. Now I have permissions to see this information. I can see the different price levels. So at a glance, I can see that this regularly list price is $88.95, but for our club members, it's $84.50. As you can see, I have a number of different price schedules set up for other types of price levels, maybe contractors or staff. You can have up to 99 different price schedules. So really, you can create as many as you need to satisfy your business. Now, in this case, we're not going to complete this order today. I'm going to flip it over to a work order. So it's not going to be a completed cash type sale. And part of the reason is because I know she wants some product that we don't have in stock. She wants to buy some of our fertilizer. There it is. So in this case, I'm going to highlight our special order option. Of course, we can present a number of different ways. We can turn these options on or off so that they're not presented if we choose that. We can choose a regular back order, or the option I'm going to highlight today is our special order. Special order is like a back order, but it's a stronger version of it. It's going to tie the purchasing request to this invoice and to this customer. So when I click on special order, we're going to get our special order pop-up screen. And here I can choose the amount that I want to request. Let's say she wants 5 bags, and I can just simply queue the order. I can also choose to add any comments here. So if it is a specific comment that I need to pass on to my supplier, here the person at the point of sale can make that comment, and it'll actually get carried over to our purchaser and to the purchase order. We can also choose to apply it to the invoice so that our customer, Pamela Brown, can see it as well. Now, when we queue the new special order, we can see that it appears in the grid. Now, this is especially useful if Pamela calls us up and asks us for the status of her order. You can see currently that's not on a PO. Well, of course, I just put it on. But if our purchaser had sent this off, you would see that the status had changed to PO sent. Or if that product has come in, it would say that the PO has been received. If we purchased this product before and we received it in, we might have an expected date based on our previous shipment. Or if the supplier gives us an expected date, we can also enter that in. So this is a handy way to communicate to our customer right from the invoice. Okay. Now I'm going to close off this invoice, and we're going to exit off. Now I could print this invoice off for Pamela, or I'm going to actually exit this without printing today. And we're going to pull up one more invoice. Now, one other common scenario I see with our customers is that they might again have this long line of customers that they're trying to process and get through, and the customer at the front has added a number of items. But in this process, they've realized that they've forgotten something, and they need to actually ask you to put this sale on hold while they go and find this other item in your store. Now, it can be quite time consuming, and a lot of times you would prefer just to keep moving through the line. So we have the ability, what we call the invoice parking lot, to park this invoice and then pick it up when that customer returns again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the P for parking lot, and it's going to park that invoice for me. And now I can continue with the next customer. Now we'll revisit that in a moment, and I'll show you how to pull that back up. But I'm going to take this opportunity now to jump into an inventory record and show us a little bit more. So we can actually access the inventory records right from the screen, or if we want, we can exit out of our quick sales screen and enter into the added item navigation or part find navigation screen. So as I mentioned before, there's a number of different ways that we can search for items. Part number, description, even botanical name. You can even look at things from zones or height or width, and you can customize these fields to suit your needs. You can also look at our subcategory menu, and you can actually search through your different categories of product. So let's go take a look at some of our products here. Actually, I'm going to go look at our junipers. Oops. That's not part number. It's a description. There we go. So if we enter into one of our junipers, we can see a lot of information displayed on our initial page. Now this page is purposeful for that reason. It's going to give you a snapshot of this item. So we have certain things like a part number, as well, maybe the supplier has a different part number for ordering. You also notice here that we have some our customizable fields for zone, height, and width. Of course, we have our cost and our list price as well. Now I want to highlight our high and low feature. So for stocking your inventory, you might want to work on highs and lows or mins and maxes. So if you fall below your low, it's going to reorder to your high. Oops, I think, there we go. Sorry. So the way this works is we also have it set up for seasons. Of course, many garden centers have seasons where they want to order things for the spring. Maybe they're not even open during the winter. So this allows you to set highs and lows for different periods of your business. If I double click onto our high here, we can actually open up and see how we have that set up. So for our winter, we're going to have, that's not set up quite correctly. Of course, you want your low to be high or lower than your high. But if we look at our spring, we have a low of 20 and a high of 25. So if we fall below 20 in our spring months, then it's going to ask us to reorder up to our 25. All right. So one of the other things I'll point out on our inventory record is we can come over to our retail tab, and here we can see our different price levels. So I mentioned before how you can have a list price, a club, and more preferred pricing levels. You can set these up in a number of different ways. You can set them up as a margin from landed cost or from cost. You can also set it up as a fixed price, or a lot of the other price schedules are going to be set up as a discount from your list price. You can also set up sale pricing so that when you put in sale dates, the sale pricing automatically comes into effect. As well as if you want to have quantity discounts, you can set those up as well. Now, I told you that I should show you a little bit how we can set up some of our more detailed information, like botanical name. So here, I came over to our comments section. This is the same area where you can put that sales warning or upsell that you saw pop up during the point of sale. You can do the same idea for purchasing. So if there's something important that you need to communicate to your purchaser, you can also make a comment there. We're going to focus on our free form names. And here you can actually define the headings. So I can choose to create my own headings here that are going to be constant or consistent across all of my products. And then on the right-hand side is going to have the variable information that's unique to each product. So you can see there's a number of different pieces of information that I have in here. And one of the powers of Windward is that we can actually, we integrate well with a number of different label printers, including label printers that have waterproof abilities, and you can print different sizes of labels. So similar to our invoice, where you can design your own forms, you can also design your own labels. Let's take a look at a couple. So I can choose a smaller version of my label, and I'm going to preview it for us here. We can choose how many labels we want to print. In this case, it's defaulting to how many labels or how much quantity I have of the product. Let's go take a look at this. So there we go. So this would be like a shelf label. So maybe if you have this product on a shelf or on a smaller tag, this is what you might want to see. Now, I talked a little bit about using barcodes before. System 5 can also generate barcodes, or of course, if your product comes with a barcode, you can load that against the item as well. So on this label, we can see the basic information, the part number, the name that we've given it, the botanical name. We can also see things like growth habit, hardiness, etc. So you can really design these labels to suit your needs and what you want to communicate to your customers. Now, if you also want to print, for instance, a larger label, something that maybe is on a larger tag, you can also choose that option. And in this case, you can see that we're including something like a picture that would be more appropriate for a large tag. And the price is quite a bit bigger. Of course, we still have that barcode handy there. Now, maybe I'll take a moment here and mention this barcode, why it might be useful to have on your tag. If you have a larger yard and you're walking around, Windward also has a product called the Windward Sidekick. And I'll demonstrate that very briefly at the moment today. So let's bring it over. So this can be used on any device, anywhere, as long as you have connectivity to the internet. So it can work on your phone, it can work on a tablet, or it can work on a computer like I'm using today. Okay, so I just need to log in. So the power of the Sidekick is we can do a number of things. We can use it for a part find, and we can look up parts on the fly. We also do build orders. So I'll just start by, again, we can type in a partial part number or a description, and it's going to return the products. So in this case, I typed in Yeti. It's going to bring in back a number of these Yeti mugs or Yeti products. We can easily start adding this to an order. So if you're walking around with a customer, I'm thinking if you're walking around in your yard, maybe far away from a computer or till, but you're creating a custom project or a custom invoice for your customer, you can actually start adding these items to an invoice. Now you can also see that same information if we go over to our order builder, and we can see the same type of functionality. Again, we can even look at the information for the product. We can see other descriptions, we can see different pricing levels, etc. You can even see the product image. This also is compatible with barcode scanning. So you can scan those items while you're walking around those yards, going back to our tag there. And when everything is complete, you can submit this order and send it in to your Windward System 5. Now that order can be imported in at the point of sale, so your customer can then just easily go up to the till and their order is ready to be picked up or to be paid. All right. So jumping back to our demonstration, this was our inventory record, and also point out that we have the ability to integrate with your e-commerce site as well. So there's some e-commerce integration options. Easily we can just turn this button on and export this out to our website so we can communicate this product to our customers online. Okay, so we've talked about point of sale. I did mention that we have that item that's in the parking lot. So just going to jump back for a moment and show you how we can easily pull that up. So our customer, he was at our till, he had a bunch of products, but he realized he forgot something and he wanted to go back. So he parked his invoice. Now he's come back with his additional product, and we can easily pull up our invoice parking lot, and we can see the items or the invoices that were still there. And now we can unpark that invoice, and we can start to interact with it. So we can add another item. Now you might notice the screen looks a little bit different. As I mentioned before, we were on the quick sales screen, which is especially useful for that high volume customers. But this is going to be our full invoice screen, where we have a few more options. But certainly we can explore these in more detail. If you're interested, you can always contact us. We'd be happy to jump into another demo with you. But in this case, let's just finish up this invoice. Let's say he wants some more fertilizer. We can come in, select his fertilizer, and he can complete the payment. Now again, this is a cash type sale, so it doesn't need a customer, but we can certainly add one if we needed to. And we can complete that sale. I'll choose a different invoice type this time, and we can see another design. So here we can actually see the customer as well if we added to the invoice, and we can even see where they shipped it to. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about our sales, or quite a bit about sales, and we talked a bit about inventory records. Let's talk a little bit about purchasing. So I'm going to highlight our required orders report. Now, there's a few different ways you can do purchasing, and every business is a bit different, and Windward is very versatile and allows you to do the same thing in different ways. So you can create a new purchase order for a certain supplier and start filling it out. In some garden centers, they don't even start that way because they don't always know exactly what they're going to receive from their nursery. So you can even jump right to a receiving report without even creating a purchase order and start receiving the product in. What I'm going to show you today is a required orders report. Required orders report is actually going to look at all your inventory in stock, the highs and lows, or you can actually look over sales over a previous period. So I talked about highs and lows and how you can set them up seasonally. But if you're not setting highs and lows, maybe you just want to look at a previous period sales. It could be, hey, what did I sell last week and I need to restock? Or you might want to look at last year, what you purchased for the spring season. So you just easily select your start and end dates. So if we want to see what we purchased last February, we could enter that in and run the report and see everything that we sold last season, so that we can purchase this February for this upcoming spring season. All right. What I'm going to show today, though, is our highs and lows, as well as it's going to look at things like our special order that we set up earlier. So if I click our view button, you'll notice that it's populated a number of tabs here along the top. Now, these tabs are for different suppliers that have purchase order needs. So in this case, if we look at our first one, we have Grandpa's Weeder. Based on our highs and lows, we need to order one of these products. We also have a number of special orders for this product that we can see as well. We can actually look at the details and see who requires this order. In this case, we have Green Gate Landscaping, our customer. We can see what invoice number they've been assigned. We can also see the supplier and the quantity required. As we go through, we can see all the different number of items. And we can even see, here's our juniper that we special ordered today. And we can easily identify it's a special order because it has that SO in front of it. So again, here's Pamela Brown, here's her invoice number, and we can see that she has ordered 5 of these items. If I have many items on my list, I can easily toggle on and off the items I want to order. And from a click of a button, I can come up to our Create POs button, and I can choose to create all of these purchase orders in one shot, or I can just create this individual purchase order for the supplier, Heinz Nursery. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll create that purchase order. And we can see here that it's brought the product onto our purchase order, and it's created this purchase order for us. We can see the product, we can see our cost, it's populated the 5 quantity that she's requested, and it's extended that $34 cost into our $172.80 total. We also can notice, if I hover over this item, it's going to put in that comment that I wrote against the invoice when I had the special order pop-up come up. Now, if you want, you can continue to add items to this invoice, again, by typing in a barcode, part number, description, or you can even go through our part find window. But one of our other great features here is if you have an order ongoing, a lot of time businesses will create a purchase order and they'll continue to fill it up over the course of a week or a period of time, and then send it off when it is time to send it at the end of the week, or when it's reached maybe a certain dollar amount, so that they can get a discount or free shipping. So our orders tab allows you to come back to invoices that are already in program or have not been sent, that are pending, and you can see any special orders that are available. You can also look at items, special ordered items that maybe are from other suppliers. Maybe this supplier also carries that product. Or you can actually go into our suggested orders tab and you get almost like the required orders report, the same kind of functionality. You can see what your highs and lows are, or you can look at sales from a previous period and generate a list and add it to your order. Finally, you can also list all the parts for the supplier, and you can look to see what you have available and if you want to order any. So currently I can see, I can even toggle if I click on the top row here, I'm out of stock on this item. So I can choose to, let's order 4 more of these. And again, I can toggle these on or off to select which ones. And with the click button, I can add the suggested orders to my purchase order. There we go. So I have 4 of these skyrocket junipers now for our special order for Pamela. And then I also have, 5 for Pamela and 4 more that I want to put into regular stock. I can simply send that off in the system by clicking the send button. And if I can email it to my supplier, I can choose to email it. In this case, I'll just go ahead and we do a preview of the purchase order. And again, this form designer can be customized so it has the look and feel that you want. And you can see here that we have our special order information. We can choose to print this information for the customer. If you're doing like a drop ship straight from your supplier, you might want to include the customer name and address, some specific information potentially of how to find that customer's address. Or maybe you just want to include the supplier comments that are specific for that purchase order. Okay, so when it is time to receive that product, we can imagine some time has gone by. We can pull up our purchase orders. We can see that I just hit recent to pull up all my recent purchase orders. But of course, you could search by status, supplier, or purchase order number. You might notice here along the side that we have different statuses. A, meaning active, meaning that the purchase order has been sent. C, is it's been completed. P, I don't have any here, but if there was a P, that means that the purchase order has been started, but is pending. It has not been sent yet. And there's also a B type purchase order, and that's a back order purchase order. Oftentimes, if your supplier is short items, which is not unusual in the garden center and nursery industry, those products might not all come that you've ordered. So you can actually choose to put them on back order, or you can clear the back orders too. But if that supplier is going to satisfy your request, then you can actually put those products on back order and come back in and receive it at a different time. Let's go in and receive this purchase order that we set up today. So you can see the way I have it set up is I have it set up so that my received quantity will equal my ordered quantity. Now I could have this set up to 0 and use a barcode scanner to scan the items as they come in, so that the people in my warehouse are actually counting these, and I'm going to verify the amount that I ordered. If I have any freight charges at this point, I can choose to add those on. One nice feature about this is if we have $100 freight and we want to add that to the landed cost of our items, we can type it in at the top here. And when we click tab or enter, it's going to ask us how we want to distribute that freight cost against the items, by cost, by quantity, or by unit of measurement. So that could be weight. Now let's hit by cost, and you'll notice that it is distributing that cost appropriately across these items. Now these items are the same price, so of course it's the same distribution. All right, let's receive these products in. Now again, before I do, this might be an important time to print those labels. So we might want to print those labels for our inventory records. We could also print special ordered labels as well, so that we can segregate or stage the items in our warehouse or our yard to be picked up by that customer. We can enter in our packing or receiving slip or the invoice that we received from our supplier. and hit receive. Now again, this might be a good time to print some of that special order information. This might be useful for the people in the yard or the warehouse so that they can see that, again, these items actually are a special order for Pamela Brown and need to be staged as such. Okay, being cognizant of time here, a couple other things that I want to touch on today is, Windward System 5 is more than just point of sale and inventory management. As Kyle mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, we also provide accounting and extensive reporting options as well. So I'll point out one of our reports here. As you can see, if I open up our report menu, we do have a number of different types of reports. We go under sales reports. You can see all sorts of different types of reports that are available to you. Now, one of my favorite reports, and we also have this search button at the bottom to help you easily find things. And I also mentioned, of course, if it's something that you frequently use, you can customize your ribbon at the top and make those reports handy. We also even have lists, so you can run daily or monthly or yearly tasks. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into my stock management report. Now, this stock management report is quite nice. It's going to show me all my products, or you can segregate it by supplier or category. But what you're going to see is you're going to see your quantity. You're going to see what you've sold over the past 4 quarters in this case. You're also going to see lifetime sales. You're going to see the last, if you have anything on order or last received. And so you're going to really give you a snapshot of the product information. You can even set up things like your highs and your lows from here. And you can even choose to maybe delete this product if it's a product that is a slow mover and you don't want to order it anymore. You can mark it for deletion so that you still sell the product that you have in stock, but it's not going to suggest that you order it in the future. Now you can see there's a few options here where you can clear the highs and lows, or you can even set highs and lows. Okay, the other item I just want to point out briefly is going to be our accounting side. So we do have a full accounting suite. We have a full chart of accounts. You can run, again, a number of different reports: trial balance, balance sheet, income statements, tax reports. And I'm going to talk a little bit about bill entry here. So I'm going to go up to before I do, I'll also mention that for our AR customers, if you do accounts receivable, you can also run your aged ARs and produce statements and email those out to your larger customers that you provide maybe a credit limit to, or I guess an accounts receivable. Now for our accounts payable, for bill entry, we can enter in our bills and we can simply, enter them in as they come. But I want to show you how we can tie them to our purchase orders. Now we can run a report too to see what purchase orders have been associated to bills. And I'm just going to pull up our customer here, and it was Heinz Nursery. Let's pull that one in. Okay. So for that purchase I just made today, if we want to receive that bill from Heinz Nurseries, we can actually go find the purchase order that is associated to it. So in this case, it's going to be this top one, February 22nd. We can see the packing slip that was entered in at the time of receiving. And we can see the total cost as well as the landed cost. So we know that there is freight involved. Now we can choose to just bring it over the wholesale amount. That might be important if you want to expense the freight. Or in this case, we're going to include the freight as well, because we want it to be a landed cost and it's not going to be expensed. It's going to be associated to our inventory asset ledger. So we're going to choose freight. Of course, if there's any duty or extra costs, we'd want to add those on potentially, or we can choose to add those on. Then we can add it as all items separately or as a summary. Oops, clicked the wrong button there. Let's try that again. Add POs, add all items. Let's try that one last time. I think it lost my selection. There we go. Okay, so make sure you select your PO and add all items. Now I chose to add them individually, so it's giving me one line, and it's going to actually say what the product is. Now you might recall it was the same inventory items, so those 5 and 4 quantity have been combined to give us 9 of these Juniper Sky 2-gallon inventory items. And then you also notice that freight here is coming in as a separate line item. Now the inventory line item at the top, this was a placeholder for the summary line, so we can easily just delete that or leave it on at 0, doesn't really matter. And you also notice the ledgers here that are posted. So if you decided to expense this ledger, you can do that as well. I just double clicked, opened up all my list of ledgers. I can scroll down to my expense ledgers and find the appropriate. I'm sure there's one in here for freight. Oh, there we go. And we could select our freight. There we go, and the amount. Now, of course, you want to enter your bill number, maybe give it a description, etc. Dates, due, all of those great things. And of course, most importantly, you want to save and post that bill to your ledgers. Of course, we're going to support you in paying those bills as well. So you can run your checks run and print all sorts of information there and satisfy your payments as well. We even have a check designer that you can print off your own checks if that is something you do. Now, at this time, I'm going to wrap up the demo portion of the presentation, and I'm going to hand it back over to Kyle.
All right, thanks, Peter. And as you can see, there's a lot to the system, and we also have add-ons to the system. You saw in the demonstration, we do have the System 5 Sidekick. And it's especially useful in garden centers. Really allows you to have the information that you need literally at your fingertips when you're away from your computer. With its part find and order building function, System 5 Sidekick is perfect for the following tasks: line busting, checking item details from anywhere you can catch a signal, building an order while you're with a customer, or you can check even item availability when you're on a customer's job site for some of those folks that do installs. Yeah, you could even check stock levels while you're at the garden center show before you commit to making a purchase. So our clients really get creative with how they use the solutions that we build. So we're sure there's many, many more use cases out there. Another add-on we have is Windward Intelligence Reporting. And it's kind of like a sales KPI dashboard that's available for you to keep track of how business is going. This is above and beyond what's already a powerful reporting that's inside of System 5. Some of the standard reports that are included are sales by category, gross margins by landed costs. Sales by salesperson is particularly useful for analyzing salesperson performance. And then we've got some top 10s in there, customer analysis, supplier analysis, and even sales by region, which actually puts your sales onto a map to see where your top zip codes are. Maybe you want to send a mailer out to a certain zip code or something like that. And then, of course, if you're looking for e-commerce options, we recommend WebSell. WebSell is an integration to Windward System 5 and a web cart. So you can basically sync all of your plants and other parts right into your website, your WebSell site. And then it basically allows you to have one data source, and it keeps your e-commerce site current with your current quantities on hand. You can handle your web orders in the same way that you process your in-store transactions. So at this point, just kind of going over what was covered in the demonstration today. Of course, there was the basics of the point of sale. You covered purchasing, fulfillment, and then we also covered some of the extras. And we're kind of running out of time, so let's just get right to Q&A if there's anything out there. We'll give this a couple minutes to see if you have any questions to ask us, and then we can go from there. Peter, do you have any other additional content for about the next couple of minutes? It doesn't look like we have much in the way of questions just yet.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, there's always more to show here. I can certainly jump into a couple other pieces. Why don't we jump into a customer record here for a moment, and we'll just take a tour of that for the last 5 minutes. You can see my screen again?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so from our customer record, we've already talked a little bit about the find screen and how we can look up these different customers. Let's pick on Pamela Brown a little bit more. Now, one of the nice things about our customer record, of course, you know, as I mentioned, you can capture the basic information, you can give them the account numbers. We also support a points program. So we talked a little bit about promotions very briefly, but a number of different promotions you can use. You can also actually use gift cards. So if your payment processor supports gift cards, and that's something that we can use, and we can load those gift cards, but we can even print gift certificates and generate those gift cards in-house. So I want to point out our financial tab. Here's where you'd set up your different price schedules for a customer. You know, you can also set up any of those things they charge, if they're a charge account, any interest rates. If they're a tax exempt type customer, you can also manage that. But one of the points that I wanted to highlight here was our invoices and purchases. Now, when that customer comes into your store, they maybe have purchased something with you in the past. It's easy to go and you can look up current or past purchases for the customer, but you can actually go and you can duplicate these. So if they want to purchase that same thing, that, you know, repeat that purchase again, you can do that. Maybe that's especially useful for certain contractors. But we can take it one step further, and we can actually go down to the line items. So Pamela comes back in and she says, hey, what was that juniper that I purchased back on the 1st of February? Well, you can go ahead, you can find that. You can say she wants 2 more, because of course you want to group those in 3 and just have an even number. And she wants to purchase those again. Now, from here, we can easily add this to a new invoice, or if she has an open invoice that's in progress, we can do that as well. Now, I'm going to put it on a new invoice, and well, actually, I'm going to show you from our quick sales screen instead. I'm going to show you one other feature here that I didn't quite touch on today, and that's
Peter, there was a question that did come in.
Yeah.
Since you're kind of in between things there, the question was, can you adjust settings to the Australian metric system and date system to day, month, year instead? I guess that's a requirement. And I do know that in Australia, there's also tax inclusive features as well.
That's right. Absolutely. We have many Australian customers, and that is something we can certainly do. So we can change different metrics, as you mentioned, as well as the date stamp. And Cal, you're right. We can also make our tax inclusive. In North America, our tax tends to be exclusive, so our prices are stated tax exclusive typically, and then we add tax on at the point of sale. Our Australian customers, tax is actually inclusive. So when they post their pricing, it needs to be inclusive of their taxes. So yes, we absolutely can satisfy that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing I did want to point out too is returns. So returns are common, or can be common in the garden industry and the nursery industry. And oftentimes, well, the nice thing that we have with our return feature is that we actually have the ability to identify what kind of return it was. So, you know, maybe the plant died, maybe it was the wrong type of plant. And as a result, you want to treat that return differently. If it's a dead plant, you're going to write that plant off. You're not going to put it back into stock. Whereas if it's the wrong plant, well, you want to put that back into stock and sell them the right plant. So depending on which option you choose for the return, it's going to treat that return differently. Now, you might also notice that we have a potting up option here too. Well, of course, hopefully your plants are growing. And if you have stock that has turned into a different item because it's actually has grown, well, you can use our potting up feature so that you can replant that pot into a larger pot, and then also account for all the products that you've used, whether it's a soil, a container, and those kinds of things, and post it appropriately to your ledgers. Kyle, is there any other questions? I know we're tight on time here, and I don't want to eat up that, but I'll walk through this process in the meantime.
Yeah, so there was just a question about the deletion of items that are out of stock or old. I think that's an easy thing to show, but there may be more to that story. But we could maybe show the how to mark something as deleted that's no longer being sold.
Absolutely. Perfect. I'll cancel out of this return process, but I will point out that it's actually showing us past invoices as well that Pamela's purchased this product on, so we make sure that we're accounting for it properly. But yeah, let's jump into that real quick. So I'm just going to go from within an invoice, I can click on item details. It's going to show me a snapshot of that information. We talked about different locations. I can see more information about that as well as the product. I can actually, if I have the right permissions, edit this product as well. So from this screen, and there's a number of different ways that we can mark items for deletion, but simply from the inventory record, we could just click mark deleted. Now, we talked about earlier that if we have quantity, or in this case, we might even have it on a purchase order or an invoice today, we're not going to remove that product completely from the software. You still want to run reports. You still want to be able to report on that product. So effectively, what this is going to do is this is going to hide the product. We're going to mark it for deletion. It's still there, but now it's going to not be available for when your salespeople, unless there's quantity, and because of course you want to sell that quantity, but it's not going to be available for your salespeople to see and reference, or your purchasers to purchase. And of course, if they do type in the exact part number and manage to find it, they're going to get a pop-up, a warning saying this product has been marked for deletion. Hope that answers the question there, Kyle.
Well, I think that's about as deep as we can go into that topic on this webinar. So we'll leave it at that. Well, hey, thanks for everybody for being here today. Of course, if you want to go into any of these options or items any further, you can absolutely put in a request for a one-to-one demo on windwardsoftware.com. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for your time.